Hello, fellow moaners. Welcome to Make Yourself Moan podcast. I'm your host, Madison Monroe Curtis, and it's time to dive deeper. If you aren't watching the video form of this, why? I do all this work. It's the sound of me drinking coffee out of my Fox mug. So I learned the hard way that my second episode, again, this is all new to me, so I'm learning how to do video podcasting. I just have been so focused on the video aspects that I didn't think about when people are only listening to the audio form what they would hear. It sounded like I was pooting a few times in the beginning of the last episode. If you were just listening to the audio version, what was actually happening, I was taking a sip of my energy drink, I was lighting candles, the chair was making sounds. It was unfortunate. So I'm sure that'll happen this time if you're only listening to the audio. But just so you know, on Spotify and YouTube, there's a video format. I'm also about to light candles because I'm a sucker for a good aesthetic. I was like shake uncontrollably. My grandma has Parkinson's and I'll be cutting her fingernails and I'll say, Mama, you're shaking. She says, I know, it's part of the Parkinson's. I said, it's okay, Mama, I shake too. My mom says it runs in our family. Whether you have Parkinson's or you just shake, it's good to bond over it, I guess. Oh, I'm nervous. This is a big topic. I'm really nervous because I want to really get into this with you. T-R-A. How do you spell traumas? Is it T-R-A-U-M-A-S? Trauma. I'm zenning. Hello and welcome to the Make Yourself Moan podcast. I'm your host, Madison Monroe Curtis, and I approve this message. So Netflix. Has everyone seen the Netflix documentary that came out last week about my family? Is there anything left to talk about? Thankfully, yes. Otherwise, this would be pointless. It's been pretty crazy. My inbox has been flooded with, thankfully, mostly nice messages about people just saying, I had no idea you and your family had gone through this. I can't believe this happened. Are you okay? Are y'all okay? A message came through earlier this morning, someone from Australia asking me how poor we are because the show was so wild. I mean, we're not rich. I'm working on changing that, but no, not much money. We're rich in experiences. Life has never been boring. I'll give it that. Mostly thanks to all the traumas. Hence, this episode, I am so grateful for my traumas. Seems like an oxymoron, right? You don't always hear people say that they're thankful or grateful for the hardest times in their life. But I know I'm not alone here. There is a lot of people out there who have come to realize that the hardest things they've ever gone through are the things that have shaped them the most. And when they were being shaped, they were being sculpted into a better version of themselves, a stronger version, a more confident version, someone who is appreciative of the small things, of the good days, of the good people in their life that treat them the way they should be treated. It's those really terrible times that make us. That doesn't mean we can't grow through that pain and be proud of the scars that we're left with. If you're still here to listen to me talk about my experiences and to maybe one day get to tell me about yours, then you've survived everything that you've experienced up until now. And that should just be proof that you can continue surviving whatever is next, whatever comes your way. Death is inevitable. Therefore, heartbreak is inevitable. And heartbreak sucks. Whew, heartbreak it's the worst form of pain, if you ask me. C.S. Lewis said, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. Let's just breathe life into that. None of us chose to be here. A lot of us were accidents. I, as you saw in the documentary Kings of Tupelo, was born basically 9 months, 8 months after my parents' first date. We all have kind of a rocky beginning in one way or another. Maybe your parents chose to bring you into this world, but they also didn't really know what they were getting into, didn't know how expensive it was going to be, how exhausting it was going to be. Kids are tough. No, I don't have any human children, but I am the oldest of several. I feel like I've just been a mom my entire life. This should go without saying, but let me leave this here as a disclosure. The past is not the present. What? When I am referring to past truths that may not even be someone else's truth, which does not make them any less true to me. If I tell you I no longer feel that way or think that way, but that's how I felt back then, that's what I went through back then, and now it is this. I am the only one that can speak on what I have gone through, on my perspective. People can offer insight and tell me that they disagree with how I remember things. Fine. But no one should ever come to me and tell me, well, you said this, so this can't be true. Or, yeah, you told me that this happened from somebody that treated you this way, so they must still suck. No, that's not what that means. That means this is what happened to me through my eyes. There is so much time in between then and now where that person or I could have changed, could have grown, could have seen things differently. We could have had conversations. Our relationship could be healed. They could change, I could change. So, just as a disclosure, because some people need that, just listen and learn from what people share with you instead of trying to find ways to judge others and hold things against each other and call other people out on their sins when you have a list of stuff you should be working on yourself. It's a little deep in here, a little serious. So, life can be serious. Dad almost went away for life for trying to kill the president, something he did not do, something he was framed for ultimately. But there's a lot of people doing time in prison for things they didn't do, or for weed that is now legal in many places. Be careful out there, guys. The more you put yourself out there, the more likely it is that you're going to make enemies or have haters. Just be as true as you can because that truth does persevere eventually. So, the way I see traumas being used for our benefit later on is like the story about asking God for patience. You know it, right? God doesn't just give you patience, He blesses you with the opportunities to practice patience and learn patience, instill it as a habit through surprising moments of life. Something you want is being delayed. Somebody you want doesn't want you, at least not in this moment. You want to do this career, but you have to get this degree first. You want this promotion, but you got to put in the time. Patience is hard. Healing is messy. Traumas suck because they come from things that we didn't ask for. A lot of the time, our traumas that we have are because of what was done to us. The bright side of that is every hardship that we've gone through is now a way that we can relate and connect to another individual. And that is so special. You can look at somebody and say, I didn't have that exact experience, but this is my experience. And I feel like I know how you feel. You want to talk about it? You want to go get a coffee and just human to human conversate? And maybe together we'll learn from this and we'll be able to look at it from a more positive perspective of we're never going to let that happen again to us. Or, wow, I'm going to be different the next time that happens. Because of that, I now set this boundary within my life. If I can help it, I will not be hurt like that in that way again. It definitely won't take me 6 years to realize I need to leave somebody that is hurting me and taking advantage of me. What do they say? Never again. Like the Holocaust. Never again. We learn from our history. If not, we're doomed to repeat it. It's not that we are romanticizing pain, it's that we are appreciating the growth that we now have from the pain. Who we are today is like the rainbow after a crazy storm. Man, I promise this episode is more than just quotes. Quotes and mantras are pretty great. Oh man, some traumas of mine. So you know that you can trust me when I say I'm putting myself out here in a vulnerable way that is not guaranteed to bring goodness into my life. But I do believe it will. Because at the end of the day, I just want to inspire and encourage other humans to be honest with themselves first and then honest with others, whether it's their abuser, their family, their boss, their significant other, especially yourself. Be honest with yourself, please. There's a reason your gut is telling you these things, that these worries don't go away. We'll start with the documentary. What everyone saw in this documentary was just a regular Monday in the Curtis household growing up. But people can watch that documentary a zillion times, and thank you if you do, but you'll never know what it was like for me and my mom and my brothers, or our family, or our neighbors. You can't. And what we are left with is our memories, our experiences that don't always match up with one another's, unfortunately. And I do believe we humans can block out moments of our life in order to protect ourselves. We block out things that we've done to others. We choose to forget so it doesn't keep consuming us. I believe the more you talk it out, the more that you acknowledge it in a calm, non abusive way, of course, the more you can actually heal from it. I was in psychology class in college, and this lady came to talk to us about multiple personality disorder, which she had. She described the different personalities that she had, when they would come out, and why. And she eventually learned she developed this from suppressing the fact that she was sexually abused as a kid. And what our bodies and minds can do is when we are not able to protect ourselves, our mind will create a way for us to be protected. And it resonated with me so much in a really terrifying way. One of those moments in life where you get chills and you just know that there's some truth to what you're hearing on a personal scale. So I started deep diving into my memory because I thought, oh, heck nah. I don't want that. I don't want a mental disorder simply by my own doing of not wanting to remember what's happened to me. What do you know? I start having these visions that actually were memories of being molested by two different family members. Some of my family knows who that is. I have no contact with either of these people. I haven't for years. And I'm not ashamed to say who they are, but that's not beneficial to this episode. I'm not going to spend too much time on that other than I was molested as a little girl. It's not my fault. But what would be my fault is if I was too afraid to deal with that reality, to deal with the fact that something out of my control happened. And when I went to talk about it, I saw my parents be upset and get angry, not at me, but then as I guess I was conscious enough to know, oh, anger, bad, never mind, I'm totally kidding. And so it went on. I don't know for how long. I just know it happened and I suppressed it, but then I uncovered it and I dealt with it as much as I could. And now I get to talk to other people who have also been abused in that way. And I've had some beautiful conversations. I have helped other people confront that with themselves, with their families. I get to bond with people who have experienced that. To me, it's not sad. It's sad that it happened, but bonding with another individual about something meaningful and real, that's awesome. And that doesn't define me. It makes sex unpleasant sometimes. I still have a road to recovery with that. And that's just my realness with that topic. There were times I didn't know if I was going to wake up with both parents because they fought more than they laughed. I've been arrested. One time I had to call the cops because my boyfriend had become abusive and I got arrested for it. And then I got back together with him. That's a whole other story, but some of that was my fault and some of it wasn't. I have been the abusive one in a relationship. I have hit a boyfriend before. I have been psychotically jealous. I have stalked. I have screamed and broke things before. I'm not proud of that, and it breaks my heart for younger me and for younger relationships that I had. The love of my life at the time, I was in college. I was finishing my degree in Spain, and this boy moves his ex-girlfriend into my house, into my bedroom, and I find out through Facebook from a post of them hanging out on my bedroom furniture. And there was not a thing I could do about it. Eventually, a month and a half later, I flew back in order to graduate and found all of my stuff, every single thing I own, in a giant pile in another room of the house. Some of my stuff broken, some gone. And while they just sat there and stared at me, my ex, his ex, but now current girlfriend, and all the people I had called roommates and friends just watched as I took out my stuff piece by piece. It was one of the hardest moments in my life. But what I did have that was good in that moment was another group of friends that were showing up and were there for me. The ones that picked me up from the airport, the ones that gave me a place to sleep when I didn't have one, the ones that used their time, their vehicles, their energy to help me move my stuff piece by piece into a storage unit. And it's those times you don't forget. You don't forget that pain, but you also don't forget the joy of seeing that you do have real friends. Because on one side, I was betrayed and devastated, and on the other side, I was amazed that these people loved me so much. The difference between me and maybe other people I have known in my life is that I'm here admitting to these things, and I've been admitting to them for years now. I admit to them, I own them, I accept them, and I decide, not again. I don't want to be that person. I don't like being jealous, even though it can happen, but I don't like getting mad or being controlling when that emotion creeps in. And I don't have to be. No one should ever hit anyone. Even playful fighting can be a line that not everyone should cross because you could open a door that you can't close or that is hard to close, which is how it started with me. I used to hear as a kid, girls can hit boys, it's okay. No, it's not. I had boyfriends ask me to hit them. What? I'm not judging kinks, just respect yourself and definitely respect other people where you don't think it's okay to cause them harm. I have personally worked very hard to grow from the behaviors like I've mentioned before. I've worked hard and I will continue to work hard to be a better sister, a better daughter, a better friend, a better partner, a better employee, all of it, all the way around. I work hard to forgive people in my past. I'm friends with my ex's ex, the one that was moved into my house. Me and her were not friends for many years, but we are now. So there can be beauty that comes out of the brokenness, but you need self-worth. You need to always be deep diving into what can you do better. Be willing to believe that what someone else is telling you they experienced from you that hurt. Be willing to say, I don't remember it that way, but what if I did hurt them? What if I did do that thing? What if I was that selfish? Learn from it. And if you know in your heart that you believe they're wrong, well, stand up for yourself too. You can do it like I'm talking to you right now. You can just conversate about it. You don't have to raise your voice or scream or slam doors. You can just distance yourself until you're mature and healthy enough to have that conversation. I will always be on my guard that I am not falling back into bad habits. And if I am, well, it's time to do some more work than what I'm already doing. We're talking daily yoga, meditation, going to the gym and blowing off some steam in that way, picking up a new hobby. Because let me tell you, it does not make me moan with pleasure to hurt the people I care about. But that is what happens when I am not at my best because I'm spread too thin and I'm burnt out. I have weakened my boundaries. Even when I wake up feeling kind of not beautiful and I'm worried about bills, I feel like I'm not doing as good as I should be at my job. And am I ever going to amount to my dreams? Why am I broke? Am I a good dog mom? Even on those rough days that start out that way, I'm still working to breathe in grace and love and forgiveness and a deep understanding that life is hard. I can be harder. I don't have to lose my humanity and my vulnerability in the process of being harder than life. The three main things that have allowed me to do that from a time in my life where I look back and I'm kind of disgusted versus now when I enjoy looking at my reflection in the mirror because I know I've put in the work is I've set my standards pretty high of the people that want to be in my life. I've set boundaries with myself and everybody else. And I do gut checks. I listen to my gut and I found self worth. When you have self worth, you feel like life is worth it. Then you'll feel like other people's life is worth it. And then you feel like making connections is worth it and putting yourself out into the world is worth it. You see, there's a good domino effect or a bad domino effect. Either way, one ripple will make another ripple. You're throwing the stone just by existing and you can't get it back. So put one foot in front of the other, move forward. Don't forget where you came from, but learn from it. Don't still live there. I learned from a young age, you just can't know what other people are going through or have gone through. There were times I thought when I went to school after a rough home night, or when I was in college and my dad was in jail for possibly killing the president, or when I was in Spain feeling broken, I thought people could just always tell, that people could see it on my face, see it in my soul, on my heart. And I felt the effect. I felt like I wasn't able to be in the moment. I was mentally somewhere else, even though I was physically here. But I also worked so hard to make a separation of, okay, well, I'm going through this stuff, but I don't want my pain and sadness to get on someone else because they didn't ask for that. They didn't deserve that. Also, I'm tired of thinking about it. I want to just be normal. I want to go to school and laugh and learn. I want to be in Spain and make the most of this experience. I want to have a family that isn't fighting or having insane drama all the time. I couldn't control any of that because, I mean, first of all, it's other people and we can't control other people and what they do. But I could control how much I talked about it, how it affected where I went day to day and how I interacted with everyone else. So I'm grateful for that. And I didn't know I did a good job until this week. I have had so many messages from friends from school, grade school, people that I grew up in church with, people that I went to college with, people I've met in my van life travels across the country, people I met on planes. They're telling me, you know, they had no idea that I was super nice to them and I just seem like a super happy, everything's fine person. And they cannot believe that this was what I was dealing with at home or within my family. They can't believe my family was going through this or has gone through this, because they also know some of my brothers are similar to me and they're life seekers. They want to make other people smile and be happy. And it can be hard to fathom how you might be able to do that when your life is very hell like. A lot of people said that I've told them bits and pieces, because I have. I've never been ashamed or held back the fact that my dad was arrested for this originally. And because I mean, I think it's super interesting, obviously. I mean, they made a Netflix documentary about it finally. It wasn't my narrative. It's not my story. It is a big part of my dad's story, and it is a big part of my life. But my story is made up of so much more. I have so many more ideas and desires that I have yet to experience, and I'm really excited for it. I'm grateful that I haven't let these horrible things consume me, and it has not been easy, but it's been worth it. It's been worth all the work and the forced smiles at times to simply get through the day, on the worst days, on the hard days, to be able to wake up and be a part of the surprisingly amazing days. Because I promise you, no matter what has happened in your life, no matter who or how you've been hurt, there are beautiful days ahead if you're willing to put in some basic work and let go of that bitterness, of the woe is me, why and how did this happen? It's not fair. Life will never be fair. And that's also beautiful, because it doesn't mean we deserve to be rich or famous or make a mark that we might end up making. It just happens because it's life. It is what you do with it, because anything and everything can be taken away from you like that. You literally hold the possibilities of your reality in your hands. With what we have in technology, you don't even have to be able to leave a chair and start a podcast, write a song, make a movie script, call a family member and tell them you love them, or ask them why they did that thing to you that you have yet to be able to move on from. I've been trying to stress to my dad and explain to him that times are different, thankfully. Ironically, he doesn't understand why people want to talk about what their parents did to them or how their parents hurt them, the bad stuff that was done to them in their life, like the really, really bad stuff. You know, you talk about that with a certain group of people, but he doesn't understand this whole making a podcast about it and laying it all out there. It still surprises me, because now the world once again has got to know my dad a little bit, and how honest he is. And honestly, he taught me to be this honest. It's always going to confuse me, and I hope me and him can continue to find an understanding on this. But I told him that, I understand that my dad and mom's age group, they grew up in a time where their parents didn't even talk about their parents. I can't speak for everyone. From what I've gathered, is people born in the early 1900s, their goals were to work hard, make enough money to support the family, raise kids, and just live life. People born in the mid 1900s to the 80s, the scars that they inherited from their parents, they wanted to not do things like their parents did typically, because they say it skips a generation. If you were spanked, you don't want to spank your kids, and then your kids will be spanking their kids, and so on. My parents talked with their kids about some of the hardships. They're not trying to walk up to a podium and talk about how their parents beat them and how their parents were selfish in these ways. Definitely not about sexual abuse. Then you get the generation that was born in the late 80s, 90s, 2000s. We're over here like, dude, this happened to me on this day by this person, and I am mad about it. Hey, you, why did you do that to me? Facebook. So and so did this to me, and they suck. We publicize everything. Not everyone, not all the time. I cannot speak for anyone else, but what I am speaking on right now, the majority of what I've experienced is that is the differences. And I've told my dad that when my generation is publicly talking about the worst things in our life and how our parents ruined us, it's just part of our generation's way of healing. And it doesn't mean that we hate them or that we're blaming them. Sometimes we are. I said, but Dad, what normally happens is we talk about it publicly. And then as we age, as we become the age of our parents at a time that we didn't understand why they were the way they were, we all of a sudden have gained a deeper understanding that can only come with age and experience. Then our narrative goes from, my parent did this to me and I hate them for it, to, oh, as a kid, I couldn't understand this. I couldn't understand what it meant to be an adult or a parent or to go through a divorce. Wow, this is what they might have been feeling. Oh, and you just start to unravel some compassion at the end of the day. You start to have compassion for your parents and you start to be more grateful for what they did right and a little more understanding for what they did wrong. It doesn't make anything okay. We're not looking at it trying to gaslight ourselves from what we knew was wrong into just like, well, they were having a bad day. No, you still hold people accountable. We talk about it. We're talking about it, then we're hopefully talking through it, and then we're healing from it. It's worked for me, and that's all I can say. Some examples of people that turned their pain into purpose and made the best tasting lemonade out of what life gave them: Helen Keller, Gandhi, Elvis Presley, Marilyn Monroe, many, many others. And those are such different people. I stand by it. Helen Keller got sick, became deaf and blind. No one in her circle of people could help her. They kept her alive. They loved her, but her life wasn't going anywhere. Then Anne Sullivan comes along, a teacher who had knowledge of what Helen Keller was going through and was able to help her. Anne Sullivan had learned the tools that Helen Keller needed, taught Helen Keller of the tools. And then Helen Keller went on to change the world in so many ways. And that was that ripple effect. That was that domino effect. Gandhi believed in a cause, so much so that he starved himself over it. But what I like to focus on with Gandhi is his quote, "Be the change you want to see in the world." That says it all. You can live multiple lifetimes, and that one sentence does what it was intended to inspire. It is straightforward. If you see something out there that you don't like, well, you go try and make the difference before you're spending time and energy telling other people what they need to do. You do it first. Marilyn Monroe had daddy issues and she had messy relationships. From the documentaries I've seen and what I've learned through my dad, who's obsessed with her, I'm named Madison Monroe for a reason. I admire her. We all admire her for her beauty and her confidence. But she didn't have it easy and she didn't have a happy ending. When she was alive, she was making moves. She's gone down in history for just living in her beauty, allowing herself to feel beautiful. Don't be ashamed for wanting to feel beautiful, for wanting to be sexy. You are sexy. Go be sexy. And if you're treated disrespectfully, it's not your skirt's fault. Okay? It's 2024, almost 2025. Thankfully, we show more respect for women now. Yeah. If someone is disrespecting you, catcalling you, it's not your skirt's fault or the body you were born with's fault or because you put in effort that day. It is their fault for being, they don't deserve to be called a dog. It is their fault for being a disrespectful, entitled, gross picture of a human. Traumas. I'm grateful for them. I hope you can find it in yourself one day to also be grateful for your traumas because you're looking back and you're saying, dude, look at how freaking awesome I am. If I hadn't gone through this, I wouldn't be who I am. I don't think I would be as amazing as I know I am because of what I've survived, what I've learned from, and what I've maintained and what I've started practicing. What I've gone on to help and advise other people who are going through things that I've once gone through. In simple, trauma is a tool for self sculpting. Well, my light just turned off, so I am going to take that as a sign from the universe to say some tips, things that help me. Journaling, I'm about to seek a good therapist, being grateful, writing things that I've done today down. So I'm just seeing right away, hey, I have been productive. I've done something with myself today. If you feel bold or safe enough, you want to comment, you want to message me about something that you've gone through, healed from, how you healed from it. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Tell me why. I'm so excited to hear from other humans doing this thing called life that no one is going to be perfect at, because that doesn't exist. But some people are better at it than others, and we need to help each other. You can find my podcast on YouTube, Spotify. I'm really excited to be continuing this video podcast format with you. I have an Instagram, Madison Monroe Curtis, or Make Yourself Moan. So yeah, if you want, find me, follow, subscribe, heart, like, share. Tell me what you think. You may not always get a Netflix documentary blasting your deepest family traumas on the big screen for the world to now feel like they lived your life. That doesn't mean that you can't create something else, or something else will not be the thing for you that kind of ties it in a bow and says, hey, validation that happened to you does not define you. Let's make something good out of the bad. That reminds me of a sign that was in my 5th grade music classroom, which was shoot for the moon, and even if you miss, you'll land among the stars. And to me now, it's kind of a cliche mantra quote, but when I saw it for the first time, that became my fuel for the future. Every day, that sign did something for me. It healed a part of my soul day by day, saying, yeah, both of the stars, moon, they're both good, but I gotta shoot for them. I'm just gonna stay here in this rubble. And gosh, I'm telling 5th grade me, we did it. We've been shooting for the moon, and we still are. We're not in that rubble. We're not in that dark place anymore. Some days it feels like it, but we are not there. We're eons further in here, and within my family life. Thanks for joining me today. Welcome to the Make Yourself Moan podcast. Go find something to make you moan, whether it's Taco Bell, a drink to wind down with this evening, mocktail or cocktail. I know a show that you might like, and spend some time with yourself. Put your phone down, have 5 minutes where you're just looking ahead, looking at the trees, looking at the wall, looking at the moon. Go separate yourself from the world and technology for just a moment and tell me it didn't feel good. Tell me it did not make you moan a little bit. As you know, I'm Madison Monroe Curtis. This is Make Yourself Moan, and I approve this message. Thank you for tuning in to Make Yourself Moan. Remember, self-love and raw truth are your power. So keep diving deeper and turning up the volume on truth and healing. Until next time, I'm Madison Monroe Curtis, sending you love and loud moans of confidence. If you feel led to, please follow me, like, subscribe on all those socials. I'd love it if you send or email me any and all topics on your heart and brain, and let's unravel those together. Until next time, just keep moaning.